Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is a particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Bogey, Michael Kahn, Sarah Griffiths, Rob H, Ben White, Maximum Gravy, Austin Whitsitt, John Kays, Tommy Swagnuts, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Bose Nail, Maris, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Maria Neeland, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, theflatearthchannel.com, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
Down there too, believe it or not.
Yeah, I
doing,
watched
Nathan?
quite a few documentaries on John Gotti. Yeah, but actually, what's kind of funny is, you know, when we do these jobs for the state of New York, doesn't like to pay. They try to hold everything up because, oh well, the funding and this and that. Oh, okay, well, when it comes time to you asking for your steel, you ain't getting it till I get my money. They're all greedy, all of them.
Anyway, in Mafia States of America, they talk about that. When how really the mafia got their power after Prohibition, because they would that's how they got the money. Once they got the money, then they got the power. And they talk about how the new mafia is the government. Hey, Nathan.
Hello. Can you pop yourself on mute when you're not talking, Chaos? Thanks.
Oh, me? I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
It's just easier to put my phone in my pocket because I'm not on PC right now.
Fair enough, but thanks. Yeah, if you can.
So I was listening to that re-up of the Bev show that you had, the one when Bev came on. And it's funny because Jose Boom is on the chat. I mean, the things he comes out with, he's got to be playing games. He can't. Is he really that stupid?
Who asked you that?
Yes, why would you think otherwise?
Nobody could be that dumb.
No, he said refraction, and then he admitted he didn't know what refraction meant.
Said the horizon was geometric, and then said he didn't know what geometric meant.
Yeah, but then he said they're both geometric. And what did he say? They're both geometric and what?
The moment he started claiming that the refracted horizon was also geometric, that demonstrated to me that he didn't understand what either word meant. So when he was asked what the words meant, and he said he didn't know, that was no surprise.
Yeah, because you said it's bent. So it can't be geometric, right? Once you say it's refracted, then it's not geometric. Do I have that right?
Precisely. Yeah, that's correct.
You can't. Hello, everyone. Here, Nathan. You can't refract geometry, Neil. It's either
I remember you said that.
Yeah, it's either geometric or it's not. the same way. It's either refracted or it's not. It can't be both at the same time.
But that's their whole thing, right? They stand on both sides always. We always say you're double speaking.
It's a lot easier to double speak if you don't know what the words mean, Neil.
That's correct. But even if you do, that's what they want. They want you trapped in this perpetual battle of cognition where you're holding contrary opinions or beliefs in certain regards. Well, this is one of those regards that you're holding simultaneously two beliefs in two things that aren't mutually compatible with one another. That would be a physical geometric horizon that blocks things into the distance. That would be Earth curve. And a refracted non-physical horizon. Well, you can't have both simultaneously. And when we point that out, regardless of your level of understanding, it's going to leave you in a cognitive battle where you're fighting to have two horizons, because one of them's Earth curve. It's just the one that we don't see is Earth curve.
I mean, it's plain and obvious to me. So it's like I understand why they're there. They're religious zealots. It's got to be the reason. How can they not see reality for what it is?
Yeah, actually, this morning I was in another flat Earth, globe Earth server, and I did the QE special with the 3 questions about the sextant and elevation angles on a curved adjacent.
Give us some. Summarize them. Let's hear them in your mouth, from your mouth.
Well, hang on, because it actually reverted to they didn't understand an elevation angle or a curved adjacent, so I had to give them the very definition of it. And once I did that, they didn't have any formal rebuttal at all. They had absolutely no clue. So they made up an image that I said that I sex children or sex kids or something like that. So they literally went to I got them so well, and any other aspect too, because there was more to the conversation, but they had to refer to complete bashing of me, on such a disgusting pedophile level. I reported the entire server and everybody that was in it.
But
Even the mod.
you recognise that for what it is, though,
disgusting.
right? You recognise
Yeah,
that for what it
absolutely.
really is. That's them
Yeah,
sharing their
absolutely.
pain with you.
Yeah, they knew.
That's
They knew
victory.
I had them. So
And that's what our opponents do on the globe side is disgusting. That's the kind of thing that Bev highlights on a daily basis. They get accused of child abuse for telling his kids that horizontal is flat and level, which it is.
So wait, he gets accused of child abuse for teaching his children the truth.
In
Is that
essence,
correct?
yeah, basically.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. That's what we have to deal with because we're considered stupid, and when we get the better of our opponents, they want to dox us, report us to the police, accuse us of child abuse, you name it. In this case, with Chaos, immediately descend into claiming that he's a pedo. That's what they do when they lose, because their religion is very dear to them. There's a carte blanche understanding on their side that they're always right, and when they're shown to be wrong, then they must attack because they've been wounded. So they lash out. That's what's happening. You wounded one of them, so that particular one that was very deeply wounded lashed out at you.
yeah, and every time I do the QE special, I make sure that they understand fully the questions that I ask them. That way, when it comes to the end and I get them, they near and dear knew and understood everything that was prior to sum it all up in the end. And when they did that, they try to call me a pedo. And
Yeah, let's not focus on that bit. You've told us that bit once.
it's
Stop.
disgusting.
Stop. Yes, we heard. Thank you, and commented on it. But I asked you to repeat the questions that you got the best of them with, and you're now repeating the thing that we've focused on instead. So what were those questions? Far more interesting.
Nathan's saying it's better to focus on the victory.
It was the a substance used by mariners to successfully navigate using the relationship between Earth's surface and a celestial object. The second one is the sextants used to obtain elevation angles from your position to the celestial objects. And the last one, can you obtain an elevation angle from a curved adjacent?
Perfect. Thank you very much for doing that.
By the way, I still haven't got a reply from Neil deGrasse Tyson yet, and I just gave him the last one.
Which became a housekeeping question. Any evidence that you can have a curved adjacent when acquiring an elevation angle, right?
A devastating housekeeping question. An end game housekeeping question. Again.
I wouldn't say again, like the Black Swan isn't a flat Earth proof.
I understand that.
This might be the first like solid flat Earth proof that, you know, even a child could understand.
No, I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a little tricky. I agree with Bev with that.
You can say a child couldn't get the basic principle that two straight lines make an angle. You could get that through to somebody of a very young age. But then in relation to acquiring parallel lines against the sky and measuring an elevation angle to a star, minusing off a 90 degree, all of those sorts of things I think are in advance of most normies, let alone children.
Don't say 90.
Don't mention 90. Don't talk about things being parallel. Shh.
Hey, I'm glad you mentioned children because I think there's something to do with the object permanence, psychological growth. You know, it's like that same thing that Arwen said before, where he said they have a physical assumption bias. They look at something optical and they say, "Oh, it must be a physical object in a physical location." Well, that cognition occurs like between I think 2 and 5 years old. You know, the same thing that we talked about before with the trust paradigm. You know, where you trust your parents to tell you about your world, and you know they feed you the globe and they feed you Santa Claus, and then all of a sudden it's in your psychology on a very visceral level.
Don't say that. Nathan brought his kids to see Santa. I mean Satan.
So what? So what?
I'm only breaking your chops. I eliminated Santa right from day one.
Hold on, let me defend myself. What we actually did was went to Gulliver's World, and they had a Christmas special on. And part of the Christmas special was you got to walk around Winter Wonderland. No Santa. You're not allowed to go and sit on Santa's lap anymore. That's a thing of the past. Now, to be perfectly honest, I don't really care because where I lived many, many years ago in Stratford-upon-Avon, there was this little tiny shop that sold Harry Potter-esque stuff. And before they moved, they had a really, really excellent Santa. I mean, top quality Santa. You know, very, very funny, good with kids, gave you a nice present, etc., etc. Just a good Santa. And we took both our kids to see that Santa until he died, which was heartbreaking because it was a really good day out, you know, going to, I can't remember the name of the bloody shop now, but he was basically just the shop owner. And, you know, once a year he put on his Santa and Santa beard, and that was what he did. But after that, it was like the magic got lost in that regard. Now, I don't leave our kids with any illusions about what Santa is. You know, they know it's pretend, but they like to pretend that Santa's real. So there's a lot of fun to be had out of pretending Santa's real, which is what we do.
Yep.
Pretend Santa's real. And we talk about him coming down the chimney. We haven't even got a chimney. We're in an apartment or flat, if you're British, right? We haven't got a chimney.
Yeah.
But we still talk about imagining him coming down the chimney. Do you know what I mean?
Right, but check this out. What if your kids,
I didn't want to. Hold on 1 second.
Kids who understand it's pretend tell another kid it's pretend, and that kid goes, "No, it's not," because everybody believes it and they'd have to be in on it. And then they show you proof by showing you the NORAD tracker, which tracks Santa going around the world. They'd be like, "Look, there's government agency proving that Santa's flying around."
Well, yeah, I was arguing about this the other day, I think, in here, and then I was talking about the idea that the idea of Santa is is real, right? So that means Santa's real.
The idea of Santa's real.
In
Exactly.
a way.
So we can tell, or I can tell my kids about the idea of Santa. And the idea of Santa being real is real. And so on and so forth.
Well, you know how it was broken down to me? When I went to Catholic school as a kid, so I was told that there was a real Santa. His name was Saint Nick, and he brought gifts to poor people. That's all. So he's not real now, but he was real then, and he was a real person. So, but I would not give
and his
any credit to somebody when I'm breaking my ass daily to buy these kids gifts. I am not putting some fat jolly red man on the freaking tag from mommy and daddy. Thank you.
I thought the whole idea of Santa. I thought the whole idea of Santa was that you were being gifted for your behavior, and it was outside of, like an objective good thing.
Brett, are you on the naughty
Exactly.
list? Are you on the naughty list or not?
Just like fictional characters that we create in stories to tell a story or convey a theme or a message, they don't exist in real life.
Right.
But
so
as an idea, they serve a purpose.
And then Freddy Krueger comes through your dreams and slices a big hole in your stomach. Night, night, children. It's only pretend.
Yeah, I think the big difference in because I've heard the whole conspiracy behind the Santa thing is that the people that assert it to their children don't believe it. The pagan stuff was believed by the people that asserted it. So I think there's a huge difference when.
No, exactly, because that's what it's sold on. It's sold on belief. So one of the T-shirts I was bought for the Christmas festivities by my wife says, Daddy believes. If you watch A Miracle on 34th Street, where they put Santa on trial, the whole theme of the movie is about believing. And the comparison they make at the end is in terms of currency. And it says, well, there's nothing really backing this money, but it says in God we trust on it. So we have to believe. And the federal government does, so it's good enough for us to believe in Santa also, based on those standards. Right? That's what you told on... that's the Christmas sentiment of Miracle on 34th Street.
That's correct. That's my mother's favorite movie when she was alive. She loved it. But anyway, I didn't do it mean. What I did was, at that time, I had 2 daughters. They were young. I said, listen, if you want to believe in Santa, let's stay up and wait and see if he comes. If he comes, we'll put out the cookies and milk, and we'll see. If he arrives, then you can believe in Santa. And they stood up with me till 4 o'clock in the morning. I waited till 5. There was no Santa arrival. They were up drinking hot chocolate, and I started putting the gifts under the tree. I bit a cookie, and I drank a little bit of milk. I put it back down. I said, now who's Santa Claus, girls? They said, you are, Daddy. And that was it.
Oh, that's such a sweet story about how Neil ruined Santa. Oh.
Yeah, why did you need to do that? But why did you need to do that, Neil? Why did you need to ruin that?
Because I'm not giving credit to that guy. Brian.
Same reason he needs to tell everyone about flat Earth. Selfish, very selfish.
Attitude.
Very.
Yeah.
How is it selfish, Brian?
Very selfish. We didn't say, hold on, calm down. We didn't say selfish. We said very selfish.
Yeah.
How is that selfish by not lying to my children?
Santa.
I can tell you why.
It doesn't matter what they believe. Right? All they're looking to do is they're looking forward to getting presents of this magical person in the coldest time of the year in the north. Right? It's like
Daddy.
When I was young, the fact that Santa existed meant that life wasn't too bad. Do you know what I mean?
Stop it.
Why take it away? Yeah, it's nothing to do with Catholicism or I don't care what the background is.
Hold on. There's a very big difference between. Hold on. Hello. There's a very big difference between Neil's New York girls and the poverty-stricken upbringing of a poor Irish boy. Let's not compare the two.
Hold on a second, Brian, I waited up all night.
We might have nothing else to look forward to as a child.
Right, just coal. Exactly. When you've just got coal to look forward to, Neil.
Yeah, cold and wet and damp. And those.
Oh, that's you.
They're not cold.
Yeah.
Coal.
Oh God! I know coal. I know. You're bad. You get coal. I know what the freak coal is. I know.
I can tell you
choose
what.
not
I
to
wouldn't want
lie
to be
to my
Santa going
children.
down Neil's chimney.
Can everyone stop rumpusing Neil's? Neil's passionate about
Oh
dispassion
my
for Christmas.
God! Can I get a word in?
Yeah, but Neil, if Santa were to come down your chimney, I'm sure
didn't
you
have
would
a
put one in
chimney.
the back of his coconut. You put one in the back of his coconut,
exactly. Yeah, because
Yes,
I think he's
okay,
an
right.
intruder.
This conversation's gone a bit off the rails now. We're talking about popping a cap in Santa's ass. Can we get back on track about the mystique and mystery about the imaginary entity that is Santa and the lies that we're told that are propped up by Big Daddy government to the point where they'll literally tell you that the ISS is Santa. One lie propping up another lie.
Listen, my grandkids, I don't tell my daughters not to. I'm just saying what I did. And the reason why is because I stood up all night as a 6-year-old, slept on one bed, all 3 of my brothers crammed in one freaking bed, and I waited up all night. And he didn't show up. And I see my parents putting the gifts under the tree, so I knew Santa Claus wasn't real. I knew that at 7 years old.
Yeah, but that was where you made the mistake. You should have just gone to bed and gone to sleep and woke up and believed it had happened. Because you're only a
Brian,
child.
I couldn't.
Why did you feel
sleep.
the need? Why did you feel the need to investigate the thing? Just
I had
allow it to be.
insomnia. I had insomnia as a kid. I felt like I was going to miss something if I went to
but
sleep.
I made a point of going to sleep even for an hour.
This lends credence to the age-old saying, right? A miserable old man was just a miserable young man.
What are you trying to say?
Hold on, Neil. What you should have done is what I did was set a trap for Santa, and I put up a tripwire between the fireplace and the Christmas tree. And when my dad brought the bicycle to put it underneath the Christmas tree, he tripped over the wire, fell on it, and landed on it, and like broke his rib.
And the 12-gauge shotgun had no fingerprints from you on it, so you were all in the clear. And Daddy was remembered really fondly after that.
No, he looked directly at me. I was hiding underneath the couch. I wanted to catch Santa, like I guess I was confusing him with leprechauns. I could get some wishes out of him or something.
Hold on. So this has taken a slightly more deviant turn also. So it wasn't that you wanted to see Santa, you wanted to capture Santa and hopefully extort wishes from the man, correct?
Or presents, really. I was, he had that big sack of presents. I was just wanting to, rob him.
You just wanted to steal his infinite sack of presents, I see. So it wasn't really the man, he might have been left in a ditch somewhere after you got that sack. My God, this is a dark show.
Yeah, more selfishness, yeah. Neil wanted to destroy the belief of Santa, and John wanted to just capture the man and extort stuff from him, regardless of all the other children that wouldn't have got their presents.
It beats chaos. He wanted to put a bullet in the back of his head.
Yeah, it's terrible. Santa always came, right? Now, obviously, past a certain age, he didn't come. But he always came to me because I always left out the right thing. That was whiskey. He came every time. Whiskey was drank. Yeah.
He always came because you had the right drink for him. Oh, I'll definitely give Brian a present. No matter how naughty he's been, he leaves me whiskey.
He drank so much one night that he forgot to put out the presents. But we'll forget that.
Hey, Brian, that happened to me, man. Scrambling. I had to get them gifts out.
Yeah. Santa drank too much whiskey one night and ended up asleep. Never put out the presents. That was the end of that. But before that, for the years before that, when I was cognizant, from about 2 to about 8 or 9 or whatever it was, Santa came every year.
It is in form of Daddy.
You imagine how awesome it would have been if I got that big sack of presents? I would still be getting gifts right now.
First of all, in the hood, there ain't no Santa because there ain't no freaking chimneys. There ain't nothing like that.
Are you assuming I grew up in the hood?
Talking about me.
You don't sound like you grew up rich, John. Put it that way.
It's just the accent. Is Nathan starting the show, or is everybody
No.
disgusted?
I was just about to ask. I've got a couple of minutes yet, so we all suitably warmed up for the live show. I hope so.
Yeah, I'm thoroughly disgusted with my behavior. I'm ready.
It's all right. It's all in the pre-show. Exactly.
I was kind of hoping a baller would come in. I've been listening to some of the Flat Earth servers yesterday in particular, and I think if the ballers stop interacting with Flat Earthers, Flat Earth will tear itself apart.
That's what they're hoping for. I was just about to hit the live button. Their mentality is, if we just ignore them, stick our head in the sand, they'll just go away. The anti-Flat Earthers think that, we just don't go near them, and then they've got nothing to feed on. It's like, it's not symbiotic in that way. You know, I didn't come to the subject hoping there'd be an opponent to keep the ball rolling. It's just a revelation that the Earth isn't what they've said it was, as opposed to me having a desire to challenge those people, whereas literally in the name of some of them, like Craig's channel, fight the flat Earth is literally their main motivation. Pretty sad. But that's certainly not my motivation. It doesn't compare, it doesn't mirror with theirs, in my opinion. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is a particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Neil, Refracted Curvature, Brian's Logic, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hey, good morning.
Hello.
I hate Santa now.
Ho, 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 ho.
Ho, 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 a very festive welcome to all of the live viewers. Been chatting about Santa Claus in the pre-show. It's got very dark at stages, but hopefully we've passed that now. Just let Arwin in. We will be doing a bit of housekeeping though, so hopefully the flow... Hello. Hopefully the flow of Christmas will go through the housekeeping. We'll see if we can keep that momentum going. Any evidence that you can have a curved adjacent whilst acquiring an elevation angle?
No.
I don't think that's even possible in the math.
At least try and make
I was
it
going to say it's
Christmassy.
an impossibility.
No ho ho.
Well, you're going to, for an elevation angle, you're going to need 90 degree. You're going to need a 90 degree from where you are. So your zenith is going to have to be making a perpendicular with an absolute horizontal. And that's the only way you're going to get an elevation angle. You can't have a curved adjacent.
And
it requires a 90.
It requires a 90 at any elevation, and would only work if those lines are parallel, i.e. the ground and you at elevation, making a horizontal by whatever means you choose. Those two lines are parallel with one another, as is the sky measurement that you take at that elevation. So to do this, Earth must be flat.
Well, when ballers try to... Oh, sorry.
Go on, John, go on.
I was going to say, from what I've seen, when ballers try to rebut this, what they do is they say that they're creating a forced horizontal and forget that they claim that the horizontal is curving at R value.
Precisely.
So that they...
A forced flat Earth.
It's funny.
Very. Yeah, we force ourselves to have a flat Earth to do this. With a forced horizontal, even though we claim bendizontal and you're never going to get a straight line because it's all bent, right? Well, we force ourselves to have horizontal in this regard. Well, take that to mean what it means. They've got to have a flat Earth first. That's right, forced horizontal. Indeedy do. Any evidence of physical geometric sphere edge horizons formerly known as Earth curve?
I've seen a video from Wolfie where he is, without stating it, he's inadvertently claiming that, sorry, there's a cat here, inadvertently claiming that the horizon is geometric.
Oh, they're all at it at the moment. It's very amusing, because you only have to say 2 words. Yeah, Black Swan.
Yep.
Lovely.
Any evidence that
I remember Akumo virus.
We've got a straight line to the horizon, says Akumu virus. Black Swan.
Yeah, he was the first one that fell into that.
Yeah, the way I remember, it's hard to remember from when I was a baller. It's not been that long ago, but the way I remember it is, because Akuma virus brought it up about extrinsic and intrinsic lines. The dip angle was always supposed to be 2 extrinsic lines to an intrinsic curve, which would be a straight line on a ball, right? So when they responded to the Black Swan with, oh no, it's refracted, so now that's an intrinsic line. So, it just, everything just keeps falling apart from that, because that was the only positive claim they had, and everything was tied to that claimed measurement. And it's destructive if you believe you're on a ball.
Absolutely. Black Swan is the basis of the destruction of the claim in the first instance. But there is no claim in the first instance when you're measuring an angle. You've got to have a flat baseline. So the claim in the first instance in this regard is flat Earth. You've got to have it. You've got to have parallel lines. You've got to have 90 degrees. All of these things require flat plane. And you can't measure an angle from a curved adjacent. So when they say, okay, well, we'll just force a horizontal. No, you won't. Black Swan. You're just screwed 6 ways from Sunday, no matter which way you turn. It's great. YouTube from the chat says, Nathan reminds me of Gordon Brittas sometimes. Gordon Brittas was played by Chris Barry, who also did a lot of the spitting image characters, the puppets. So not a lot of people know that, but that was what he did before Red Dwarf. So Gordon Brittas, aka the hologram on Red Dwarf known as Rimmer, and also a lot of the spitting image puppets. So he's a voiceover actor primarily, and he does impressions. So he's, if you see any outtakes from Red Dwarf, you'll see him, that's Chris Barry, doing various different impressions, because that's what he did prior, i.e. spitting image. There you go, Ute. You learn something new every day. Maybe you knew that anyway. Any evidence of the R value? I tried to sneak it in earlier, but a lot of Earth curve horizon and curved adjacent talk was going on. R value? Anybody at all? Feel free to join in Discord. This is your moment.
It's utilized in the math, but, Oh, you wanted proof for that?
No,
Yeah, that's difficult.
proof is the wrong word. A measurement of the presupposed spherical Earth, i.e. the R value being measured.
Well, in the video I watched earlier, put out by Wolfie a few weeks ago, because I went to his channel to watch a different video, and I never even got to that because this one got in the way. He talked about how they have formulas, how they have equations, how they have calculations, everything, but the word measurement, not once, right, did he show, right, how there's any measurement at all for this R value. He's showing how the airline industries use an R value that is purely a calculation, purely a formula, purely an equation. You know, it's the whole of the airline industry. This is why he always asks people to make a flight chart that's not based on the globe, because all of their flight stuff, even through the software, it's all calculated with adding in the R value. It's just equations, calculations, formulas, nothing.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
The actual best evidence that exists is what people used to have on their bicycles called a dynamo, where the wheel turns another wheel, which creates a magnetic field, which then in turn creates electricity and lights up a light on the back of the bike. This is before they had LEDs and stuff. This is older times. But when I say that's the best evidence, that's literally the best evidence, because what they're claiming is a reverse dynamo in the center of their globe, where electricity just happens and creates a magnetic field, as opposed to the other way around, that happens every other time ever. All right.
Well, isn't it the movement of the nonsense? Well, like electricity is created when a conductor moves through a magnetic field, right? So, I don't know. It's all nonsense. They ain't got a radius value. Earth's flat. Never mind.
Yeah. They start out with electricity. That's the most hilarious part about it. The electricity just comes from nowhere, basically. They don't give any specific source for the electricity. They come up with some nonsense. But the electricity creates the magnetic field, not magnetic field creating electricity.
Go on, Rams.
Yeah, so they're trying to justify the magnetic field, right?
Yeah. But the point
That's
that's
the
being
whole
made...
purpose behind the...
Yeah, but the point that they're making just this second is that the aspect of self-perpetuation, which is in the question, right? Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core? Well, that self-perpetuation is describing this dynamo effect that they're questioning. But go ahead, Rams.
Yeah, no, I gotcha.
Oh, what's about that then?
Yeah.
Rams is correct, though. Rams is correct. He's stating that that's why they have to state that electricity comes first. So then they have a magnetic field. Because if they start off with a magnetic field, they don't end up with electricity with their story. So they need to start with electricity and then end up with a magnetic field. So Rams is totally correct. I think that's what Rams is saying.
I see.
Well, they're using the inner movements of masses inside the Earth as a cause for the magnetic field, right?
Right. So instead of having to explain it away as a consequence of the magnetic field, they use it as a cause.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I understand where you're going now. Any more on the self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of an R-based presupposed spherical Earth?
There's a hole they dug in Russia that goes down almost 8 miles. That would kind of go against it, considering that none of the major predictions for that hole that they were digging came true. And on top of that, it's only less than 8 miles. So how can they even make claims about 9 miles when they don't even know what's 8.5 miles down?
Cola, super deep borehole. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over there, shining bright.
How are you going to measure an angle to it to assert, you know, like use any kind of trigonometry or math to get a distance on an R-based Earth?
Oh, on an R-based Earth, they'd triangulate it with set distances and then insert R afterwards. In reality, you can't. It's an apparent position that you're measuring, so you can't get a height to these celestial objects.
Well, the curved adjacent's still a problem there too.
Very much so. But they would beg the question, yeah, force horizontal first, measure the angle, do the maths with an insertion of R. Just go and check out Red Rhetoric's video. Or Smokescreen Design's debunking of Red Rhetoric's address to Jeranism in this regard. So measuring the distance to, I believe, the moon. They'll triangulate off a flat plane to get the angle measurement. Then they'll do the maths with an R insertion. Just assume that Earth's got an R value. That pushes the distance out exponentially. Adding R, that is. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Nope.
How are you going to enter the scientific method with a description that is flawed and a phenomenon no one's ever observed?
You're not.
Well, you could just assume that weight is caused by gravity.
What's weight?
Relative density, disequilibrium, pressure, force in a medium of air.
But you've fully summarised it without the need for gravity, and you didn't even put the word in. Useless anti-baller, anti-flat earther. You got to actually put gravity in when you describe it eloquently with relative density disequilibrium, because otherwise you're not actually inserting gravity. I've seen that happen before, actually, with anti-flat earthers, where they start explaining away what gravity is. They describe relative density, but they forget to put gravity in. Anyway.
Yeah, they switch the density quickly sometimes,
yeah, but
they don't even realize it.
They don't include it, though. Anyway, shout out to Sensual Goat, who says, I visited the anti-flat earth market yesterday. It's a good place. And it was dreadful. Oh, dear. Nobody could agree on what they were selling, and nothing was where it was supposed to be. Very good, Sensual Goat. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Also, if you're watching live, please share the show.
Hey, do you think
gravity
that
Sorry, go on, John.
I was going to say, with the rebellious gas particles and such missing their homes, right? And that's why they move with the Earth as it rotates. Is that also why snipers' bullets hit their targets, even though what they're seeing is refracted? It's actually the air molecules taking it to the point that they see or they thought they saw.
You'll have to break that double speak down a little bit. That was a bit too much in one chunk.
Well, they say, everything's refracted at a rate of 7/6R, so nothing's where it's supposed to be. So snipers take a shot at something they see, but there's not actually anything there. So is the gas particles changing the trajectory of the bullet to account for the refraction they see as they move with the Earth as it turns?
Wow, that's three things in one. No, no, and no. No, Earth isn't turning because we'd have Coriolis deflection for the same sniper. No, there's no account in the rarefied sphere-shaped air because there is no sphere-shaped air bending at a rate of R. And no, because what you described in the first instance would render the entire military obsolete. None of it would function. No one would hit anything ever. So no, no, and no. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics? You're keen. Discord's keen. Hear that? Rumpusing, fighting each other to give us that viable hypothesis.
I can't find one.
They would have to be real sciences.
There was at least one person on mute in Discord, so
They might say the Big Bang Theory.
it's not a theory. There's still a lot of confusion. I'm almost tempted to ask QE to do a special on Ballbusters about science. Because in spite of the fact that we've just spent the last 6 episodes or so covering science, I still see people with a misapprehension about what science is and throwing science under the bus. Like science has lied to us. So they allow the reification of science into some physical entity or body of people or peer review or whatever they think science is, and then throw that which they think is science under the bus like it's lied to them. And it frustrates me greatly, because that understanding, which obviously isn't there in this instance, would better the person's ability to fight the globe lie by seeing how science has been hijacked. In other words, one word substituted in this example that I'm giving of a non-person, because there isn't one specific individual I'm talking about, is to say pseudoscience rather than science. Pseudoscience has lied to us. And then when somebody questions it, well, what do you mean by that? Well, when somebody claims they've got science and they haven't put what they've claimed through the scientific method, that ultimately becomes pseudoscience by default, because it's not science. But they're claiming it to be. They're saying science. Therefore, they need an application of the scientific method with a valid hypothesis having been put through hypothesis actualization. That's an experiment with a result at the end that validates or invalidates the hypothesis. That would be to say confirms the null or confirms the alternative. Now, if that hasn't been done and it's claimed to be science, it's pseudoscience. But because it's called science so often, people will throw that under the bus and say science has lied to me because some astrophysicist has told them that there's dark matter or something like that.
Also, so many people believe the word science to basically mean to study, you know, colloquial definition. And most people believe that that is the only definition, and that this scientific method that we talk about is is our own idea.
It's an etymological fallacy. So to say that science means what the etymology of science means, scientia, however you say it, that is an etymological error, because it doesn't mean the same as the etymology. That's just where it's derived from. Now, when talking in current context about science, that's physics. That's the study of the physical and natural world. So science is a method. Now, that method isn't peer review, it isn't consensus, it isn't man in white coat telling you what he knows. It's a method that has an empirical outcome. It always was. That's what it is. And to claim that, well, to acquire knowledge is science, no, it isn't. That's an etymological fallacy.
I would be interested.
Go on.
I was just going to say I would be interested.
Go on, John. I heard you
I was
first, then Brian.
I was going to say I would just be interested to hear any other method that would give an empirical outcome. And if there is one, it would be great if they would just bring this, new method out so that we could, like put it to the test. Like they're claiming there's an infinite number of them or whatever. So it's got to be easy. All they got to do is produce one that's empirical. And then we could judge that one on its merits.
Be restricted to empiricism?
Yeah, that dusty old empiricism. No, we've evolved beyond that, says M. Scott Veach.
Right. But no, what I'm saying is if there is another method to reach an empirical outcome, I wouldn't be opposed to it. It would just have to, logically stand as such.
Right.
You couldn't use inference or not inference. You couldn't use deduction or induction. You'd have to, invent a new form of reasoning.
That is what they do. They justify inductive reasoning and call it science when it isn't. So, yeah, you just have to know what science is to spot what it isn't. And once you know what it isn't and people start claiming it, you can call them out on it and say, well, what was the phenomena being studied? What was the presumed cause of the phenomena you were studying? What was the experiment that was done to validate that as the cause and invalidate the null? What was done? And they won't have anything, because half the time they don't themselves know what they're claiming. But at a base level, somewhere deep down in their mind, they know that science is empirical because we were all taught it as such. That's why the magic trick works. If we weren't taught that science is an empirical method of establishing cause, by way of the scientific method at an early age, which we all were, when they say science says, you wouldn't think, oh, well, that means it's proven then. The magic trick wouldn't work unless we knew it was empirical, and we do. We were taught it at school, all of us in the Western world. Anybody with a heliocentric Western worldview was taught at school the empirical method of science. That's how the magic trick works. It wouldn't if you weren't. Jangle those keys through me, Neil. It's just perfect.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know why? Because I got disconnected. And then when I reconnect, I got to remember to go on mute.
That's a lovely story. Thank you. Can you regale us with it again?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I
if
just gotta
science
make an
was only
excuse.
based on observation, then yeah, sure, then they would be semi-right. But it's not only based on observation, so they are completely wrong.
Right. That's got a name as well.
Well, that's why they.
That's a fallacy too. Go on. Sorry.
I pointed out to someone recently.
They're right. They're wrong.
There's a guy who had a video, and he was trying to give he was trying to explain why objects appear to fall due to relativity, Einstein's relativity. And he said, look, he gave the disclaimer, look, that when he got to the part of him giving his description, that people could go against it, like it, dislike it. He said, this is just his way of explaining it, right? And he went through a whole thing of how he describes how space-time acts and mass, these masses, whatever they are warping space-time. And there was a lot of stuff went on in that. And not to be nasty to him, because he was just a baller. He wasn't a flat earther. He never would have come across us. I said, look, you put a lot of work into this. And he did. So I said, I'm not going to attack you on every point in it. But I will point out one thing, and that is helium balloon debunks everything you're saying there. Because there is no Earth rising up to the helium balloon. There is also no space-time effects taking place, acting on this helium balloon. So the whole lot is out the window. Now, he never gave me a reply, because how do you reply to that? Like, not only does a helium balloon debunk the previous claimed force of gravity, but it debunks Einstein's relativity. It's such a simple, it's so obvious, but they get lost in mathematics and mathematical descriptions, forgetting that all they have is a description. It's just different descriptions. And they're not describing it correctly, so it's easily torn apart by helium balloons.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
That would involve airplanes. I would say that would involve airplanes having shorter flight routes when they're flying east to west.
Before you can assert any kind of axial rotation or anything like that, you would probably need a radius value. Not probably. You would definitely need a radius value to assert spin.
Covered radius. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
That's just a hard no right there now.
Is there any other way to contain gas?
Exactly, Rams.
It's an antecedent-consequent relationship. that it? Did I cover everything? Did I miss any?
I don't think so.
Woohoo! I think that concludes the housekeeping. Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much. So now we can get back to talking about Santa Claus and how right or wrong it is to indoctrinate our children with the fun-loving fat man that is known as Santa. I'll go first. See, I think it's perfectly acceptable so long as you don't leave the kid with any impression that there is actually a Santa and it's not just pretend. So, both of my kids like to imagine that Santa is real, but they're under no misapprehensions about the fact that they are imagining Santa to be real, and that's cool because it means we can go and see Santa, and that's perfectly good. That's how the conversation started last time anyway. Hopefully it'll work this time.
I'd rather talk about. Go on, John.
Brian.
I'm just saying I'd rather talk about other things, not Santa.
Well, I was gonna link it back into the ISS, which about this time of year, certainly in years gone by, the International Space Station has been labelled as being worthy of watching simply because it's claimed to be Santa Claus. So the children are beckoned outdoors to watch the light in the sky traverse their field of view under the misapprehension that it's Santa Claus. Now, I vaguely remember a piece in a cartoon, I think it was Family Guy or something similar, and he's watching Oprah or something similar, and there's a guy and a woman on stage sat across from each other on the big chairs like they are, and the guy confesses to the woman that actually he's not a man at all, he's a woman, and he pulls off this face mask and he's a woman, and the woman's like, oh my God, and he goes, well, actually I've got another confession, I'm not actually a woman at all, I'm a horse. And pulls off the mask and it's a horse underneath, and the woman's like, oh my God, I can't quite believe it, and she says, well, actually I've got another confession, I'm not really a horse at all, I'm a broom. And pulls off the horse mask, and suddenly the person turns into a broom, right? And the woman's shocked and amazed. You think, well, it's a similar deal when you're telling the kids that the ISS is Santa and his sleigh, right? So if you're telling them a lie about a light in the sky being Santa, and then eventually you tell them a different lie that it's a piece of tin flying through a sky vacuum, what's the next lie that they'll tell you about it when you find out that's a lie? There you go. That's my motivation.
God, you a broomstick.
Let's not focus on the Family Guy comparison. More on the fact that there's a mask pulled off when you're about 8 years old, that the ISS isn't Santa bringing you presents. It's actually a tin can, honest. I know we lied before, but now we're telling the truth.
Well, isn't that like masking absurdity with absurdity?
Yes, it is like masking absurdity with absurdity. Precisely my point. It also shows you what happens when you deal with liars. So the TV tells you, as a kid, go outside, you'll see Santa going across the sky. He's going across the sky, and he's going across it in an arc because it's a sphere. Yeah, because they'll be telling you that at that age, so I'm more than happy to incorporate that into the lie at this stage. But then you find out later on, that was a complete lie. So you go, well, what is that light in the sky then, person who told me it was Santa on the news? Well, it's this tin can we've launched. Honest. So once you find out that you're dealing with a liar, in my opinion, there's only one way to deal with that type of person. That's you turn your back on them. Yeah, because all they will give you is more lies.
Were you told that Santa was real when you were a kid, Nathan?
I can't really remember. I'd have to ask my folks what they told me.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't. I was different because I was in a Christian church environment, and since I got memories, we got gift for Christmas, but there was no Santa. We were told the stories like, oh, everybody celebrates, and they say like this fat man with a red dress and a white beard. They come at the chimney. The whole story. They say, but that's a story. What we celebrate, what we give you gifts, is because it's a special day because Jesus was born, even though it was a different day. But as a kids, we were explained that way. He said like, so celebrate. So don't the other kids? They don't know that Santa is not real. They just told me. So I think that's on the parents. Now the news and most of America and the tradition and cultural, yeah, all the kids are told that Santa is real, and I think I call bullshit. They should have done like I knew since I was a kid. It's bullshit, but we still celebrate it just kind of to be part of the group. That was good with me.
Should be easy. I mean, from what I understand about American culture, there's not the same credence lent to the Easter Bunny, for example. So why can't people just treat Santa the same as the Easter Bunny? No one's growing up to 10 years old still believing that the Easter Bunny is real, unless I'm very much mistaken. Or leprechauns, or any other unicorns, whatever. Anything else that's fanciful or fantastical. You kind of get an idea as you grow up that it's not real, because at some stage, someone will just tell you. Well, obviously that's just make believe. And there's a kind of, must be, I don't know where it is for my kids because they're nothing but fantasy at the moment, but there must be a line where you start to distinguish what's real and what isn't. But, you're told by the news or by Big Daddy government in this regard with Santa to do the complete opposite, to just perpetually lie to them. Don't tell them it's not real. Don't tell them to go along with the fantasy and enjoy the fantasy for what it is. Actually tell them it's real. And, it's just a masking of an absurd notion when it comes to the ISS, that this tin can's floating around in a sky vacuum in a presupposed orbital motion. But actually, it's Santa.
I mean, physically, there's something up there. Is there people in it? Who knows? How high it is, how fast it goes? I don't know. It adds up to the observations and the transits on the moon, but it can be recorded, it can be documented, so it's something up there. What it is, that's what we don't know.
But all you've got to go on is their story about it, and for me, it's much easier cognitively because it's no different to any other light in the sky. So, for instance, David Icke talks about the moon being a container for entities to live in, like a space orbiting ship almost, right? Now, when David Icke describes that, most people who are on the outside of David Icke and don't take him seriously will just snigger. What an absurd notion. But all he's doing is the exact same thing that NASA do with the ISS. The fact that they've got a whole backstory to go along with it is irrelevant. It's just another light in the sky. Now, their elaborate backstory for that particular light in the sky, I think, is necessary because that particular light in the sky doesn't match any of the other motions. So you've got to give it a backstory, because otherwise people would start asking questions. So hence it's got a backstory. It doesn't surprise me, but so have all the other lights. Equally as absurd.
But this light in the sky was start being seen in the mid 80s, late 80s when it started getting launched up there. That's when that light in the sky started to be observed, when it started getting launched up the space. So yeah, I'm going to have a hot mic for a few minutes.
I don't know if that's true. So, some of the symbology from the Masonic lodges shows that they've got that shape, the basic shape of the ISS, on their hats. And you're like, what is it with this weird double cross with extra edges on it that they've got on their hats? Why would they have that? Now, I don't know about Masonic Freemasonry, but I know when I see an image, I'm like, that reminds me of the ISS. Now, for all I know, consumer level optics improved in the 80s to the point where people could start seeing this stuff where they couldn't before. And then it needs a justification. Whereas up until then, maybe they're studying it, but no one's aware of it. No one's looking at it and tracking it. So, who cares? Now, I've said this before. Back in the day, my folks lived in a part of the country that had the least light pollution in the whole country. So they had a hot tub, you could turn all the lights off and just watch the sky. And over time, your eyes would adjust and you'd see more and more and more. It would seem deeper and deeper, like you were looking, I'm going to use these words, deeper into space. Yeah? That's how it is perceived as your light levels are adjusted for in your eyeballs over time. as you relax. But also, lots of stuff's flying around up there, moving around in random directions, changing directions. All sorts of crazy stuff is going on. Now, I remember Mark Sargent several years ago describing exactly this, but with IR goggles. Yeah? So he puts on the night vision stuff with a decent zoom, looks up at the sky, and starts describing what I had seen with my naked eye, but in an area of very, very, very low light pollution. So no street lights for miles and miles and miles around, no towns for miles around, just the middle of nowhere. If it was no moon, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. That's how dark it was. But that meant that you got an exceptionally good view of the night sky. And as I say, all sorts of stuff's going on up there. But most people just don't notice. And if they do, they don't care. They don't give it a second thought. They might go, I wonder what that is, and then get on with their day. Right? Now, for the ISS, it's a different story. It's fairly intense light, and it's cyclical and regular. Well, that's the kind of thing that people will definitely notice after a time, and they'll start asking questions if there isn't a pre-packaged explanation. Most of heliocentrism's only designed so we haven't got any questions to ask anymore. It's all been answered already. Here's a nice pre-packaged answer for you in the heliocentric model. It's very eloquent, pretty much works. On you go with your day. Don't ask questions. Well, the same is said for the ISS, in my opinion. It's just another light in the sky, but if you haven't got a prerequisite understanding that you've got a heliocentric world and orbital motion, if you haven't got that, it's suddenly not a problem. It's just an unexplained light in the sky, like lots of other lights in the sky that I could say are unexplained in terms of what I've seen them do.
Is there a light? Can light have a shape like the ISS does?
That light has got a shape.
Light in the sky.
Well, it has, hasn't it? If you've seen reasonably good imagery of it, you can see that it's got a kind of discernible shape. I tell you an interesting story. Anthony Riley took a picture, or had a picture, or acquired a picture of the ISS, and with its vague shape, and said there's no way anyone can match up this vague shape to what the ISS actually is. So he put it to red rhetoric, and that's precisely what he did. He said, at this angle, this is what the ISS would be doing to give you that kind of blurred image, and it matched. You're like, yeah. When he told me, I was like, yeah, shocking. Of course, that's the whole point. It's to justify the light. So not matching would be the worst possible scenario. So they've got to have it matching. But, you know, like I say, that vague blur of a light to Anthony was like, oh, well, that'll never match up with what the ISS is claimed to look like. Well, yeah, it will. But does that make it the tin can they claim the ISS is? No, absolutely not. Why? Well, because it's claimed to be orbiting. I can debunk that. It's claimed to be in a sky vacuum. I can debunk that. So it isn't orbiting in a sky vacuum. That's what they claim the tin can that the ISS is. So it isn't. Simple.
That's correct, Nathan.
But he didn't even try. Last point. He didn't even try to match, to tweak and manipulate his zoom in and focal length and none of that to get the image to look like what we are told the ISS is, because lots of random people take footage and videos, not being photographers and experts. They just take a quick video, zoom in, and oh, there it is, the ISS, and it looks like we are told it looks.
And
you don't have to tweak it to make it look like the ISS.
That's fine if you ignore what I've just said, which is to say what we are told is it's got a certain shape that you're saying matches. We're also told it has orbital motion and is in a sky vacuum. So no, what they say it is isn't what it is.
Yeah, he missed all that, Nathan.
Well, in astrology and astronomy, but astrology more so, because it's, in my opinion, more precise than astronomy, there is things that turn up in the sky every 70, 120 years, all this kind of stuff. There's things that just turn up, they're on cycles. And they could be there for a while and then they disappear. There's all kinds of mad stuff in astrology. So if you know astrology well enough, you will know that there's things that turn up in the sky that may not have been seen in the sky for 60 years. So I don't know what the hell the thing is. I've personally not seen it. I know other people have seen it. I've personally not seen it. But I don't know what the rest of the lights are either.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's just a light. It's exactly as you'd expect it to be. So there's nothing special about seeing it, in my opinion. It's comparable to any other light in the sky that has a really weird shape if you zoom in on it. So do a lot of the stars. And I'm not talking about people who don't know how to operate their cameras either.
Well, even if it was a man-made thing, like even if we allow that question to ride, it's still not orbiting without a radius value to Earth.
Exactly.
And that has been debunked.
Exactly.
So it could be man-made. Who cares? It's not what they say it is.
Exactly. But you could, you can, after you find out that it's not Santa Claus on his sleigh, you can go back to the exact same people who lied about it and ask them what it is. Now, they're either going to give you the same ignorance, deception, forced or otherwise, or outright lies. If it's the source, it'll be an outright lie. There, my opinion, once you find out that these people are lying about certain things, don't ask them anymore. They don't know, otherwise they'd tell you, or if they do know and they're not telling you, they're never going to. And they've had to, or they've saw fit to, lie for whatever reasons that they find fit. They're never going to tell you those either. Probably not even under duress. So, why bother appealing to them? All right, well, I know it's not in a sky vacuum, so what is it? Go on, spill the beans. You know what they'll give you? They'll give you another lie. If you're appealing to them, they know you've already lost because you're already appealing to them.
Isn't there the moment where we, the people interested in the topic, need to jump in and say, all right, I'm not going to believe anything that they tell me. They tell me it's this high, this fast, and there's people in it. I say it's not because of the R value and the non-vacuum of space. Then we have to figure out what it is. Or should we just sweep it under the rug and just say, just allow the sky, I don't care, let's move on to the next topic.
You can
we
if
be
you
more
choose
interested in trying to figure out what it is then?
Well, you can, but that's, for me, part of the relinquished excitement that you gave up when you move sides. So not knowing what it means, you have that opportunity to ponder that, don't you? Now, refutation does not require a replacement. So to refute that it's in a sky vacuum doesn't mean I've got to explain what it is. That's not required. But you can then ponder it.
But that's the fun on it, trying to figure it out and come up with ideas on what it is.
But you can only do that if you understand implicitly that it isn't what they're telling you. Because if it is, then you don't need to ponder it, do you? But if it isn't, then you can, if you choose to, ponder that question. A reason I highlight that is because I say ponder that question if you choose to, as opposed to satisfy the demand of an opponent who says, well, you must tell me what it is. No, I don't have to do that. I can just debunk what you think it is and then walk away laughing. And knowing that it's joyful to say, I don't know what it is, but I might be the one to find out. How exciting.
Have you come up with anybody trying to find out what it is? Or just saying, I know that is not, and I'm going to laugh at you? Are we finding people that tell us then what it is? Or you're just in the first step of denying what it is and moving on?
I'm saying it could be down to you to take the excitement for yourself, to own that excitement personally and endeavour yourself to find out. But your question is, so I don't just find the next person to appeal to who's going to tell me what it is? No. That's obviously that you haven't recognised the potential excitement that is offered by this subject upon realising you've been lied to, which is that you can embrace that excitement personally, but you following one of the other two routes, which is appealing to the original liar or finding a new guru to tell you what it is. Neither of those seem like very favourable paths to me, but I'm not you. You go look for your guru to tell you what the ISS is now. I'm sure you'll find one.
If I made a claim, Jose, about what the ISS is, right, how do I support that claim? Like, the best I can do is refute the mainstream claims. At present, there's nothing else I can do. What can you do? What claim can you make about the ISS and support it at present? You can't. You end up looking at more foolish than
oh.
Go on.
Well, I can tell you what I learned via Googling around in the NASA website and all that. I can find hundreds of videos, hundreds of pictures, and a lot of people talking about it. That's the evidence I can find.
Yeah, but that doesn't tell you what it is. That tells you what they say it is.
No,
But that
yeah,
doesn't allow you to
it's
make a
true.
claim about it yourself. I'll put it
But you
this
asked
way,
me a
right?
question. I answered honestly. What evidence can I give you? Well, the hundreds of hours and pictures and launches that we can see the things launching. We don't know where to go, but there's
But,
evidence. At least part of the
but
evidence.
Sure,
that
we
is
know
not
that.
connected to the ISS.
God.
That's connected
Well,
to
it's
the
just circle
story.
jerk. Hold on, Brian. All you're doing is just circling
maybe-
back to the beginning of the discussion, Jose. So you're saying I can present you evidence of the photos from space, but we've covered that. Once we know one aspect is a total lie in violation of natural law in this instance, you don't need to keep going and saying, yeah, but I've got a picture of them launching to Narnia. I've got video footage of them going through the wardrobe to Narnia. Once you know that Narnia is not real, you don't need to concern yourself with how the wardrobe functions or the videography of them going through the wardrobe anymore. You don't need to do that. Now, you can keep appealing to it, but that would mean you ignored the fact that we've explained calmly that we don't do that and concern ourselves with the video footage and scroll through NASA stuff. I don't look or concern myself with anything from NASA. I know they're liars, so I don't associate with them. I certainly don't proactively go after their information because they're claiming stuff's taking place in a sky vacuum. That's the end. I don't need anything else.
I have an important question.
Jose,
Hold on one
I'll
second,
go after
Brian.
you. I'll go after.
Jose, when are you going to get your channel up and running so we don't got to hear this nonsense no more?
Well, that's a good point. So subscribe to Jose JG Boom, who unfairly had his channel taken off him, as much as is our opponent in this discussion. He doesn't deserve to not have a channel that's monetizable, and he's at under 1,000 views. So go and subscribe, if nothing else, to get him up to 1,000 so he can at least monetize his channel again. Seems crap, man. I'd hate to be in your shoes, man. And I hope, if I'm ever in your shoes, there's someone out there like me that's prepared to put their neck out and go and subscribe to him just so he can monetize his channel again. I hope people do the same for me. If it ever happens to me, Jose, I really hope I get the same as you're getting from me. I hope someone pays it forward.
And I am here now because this being a new account and it's kind of a clean slate for me. And I've kind of told you, like, hey, it's a clean slate. My previous accounts were banned and I couldn't join and none of that shit. But that's chapter moved. We're in a new chapter. So this is I keep being me, trolling responsibly and doing my thing. But I'll try to lower down a couple notches, try to keep it in the down low so I can participate every once in a while.
No,
like
not at
I've been
all.
doing
You be you,
weeks,
man. Don't change. You won't. Nobody does. But I appreciate the sentiment. But no, you be you.
I'd like to say
I'm just
that-
trying to be a little more mellow because last time I got myself banned. Like I pushed it a little too far.
No.
So I'm trying to control
That's not what got you
myself.
banned. What you got banned for was what I shouted at Arwin for in the chat yesterday, which is whoring on my damn corner, right? That will get you banned. Now, me at the moment, obviously, I'm proactively promoting you. So, if one of the mods happened to put your channel link for people to go to your channel, I wouldn't object. But it's a very different story if somebody just out of the blue comes out and starts promoting themselves, their channel, and e-begging potentially on my corner.
I tried to take your audience away because I was
This is
doing
my corner.
the show at the same time than you, and I was trying to take your audience away now. So that's fair. It was a fair ban. I'll take it like a man.
What you were doing, right? Because it was early days when you started doing that, right? And I get it, because suddenly I become your competitor. And you've got to try and take a piece of market share that didn't exist until I developed it as an area of YouTube. Now, that I understand. I know that works to my advantage, right? If anybody thinks, why is he's so selfless. No. There is certainly some selfishness involved in me promoting Jose. I'll give the chip shop analogy another time. But me promoting Jose as a competitor, he has a similar show to me, does actually help promote my show and grow my show. As strange as that may sound, I'll explain it another time. But that is the reality. Whereas if you're the little guy, which Jose was at the start 2-3 years ago, then you've got to, I say it in a metaphorical way, beg, borrow and steal your way to some sort of success. Now, if that means standing on some of the hoes' corner, in this case me, and calling out for tricks, then that's what you got to do. And Jose did it, but it got him banned. So that's just how it is. In other words, if you're doing that as the metaphorical equivalent of the prostitution scenario I'm giving, you get your eyes clawed out. Right? Anyway.
That's fair, yeah. Fair analogy. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, subscribe to Jose JG Boom. So it'd be nice to see you getting to 1,000 subscribers again, because despite the fact you had to beg, borrow, and steal your way up there in the first place, you did actually do it, and it takes a lot of effort to do that. As much as some of it.
There was a point we were neck to neck. I mean, I was having a really big and great audience, and the people that was used to come to your channel back in the day, they started going to my channel, and then we also had Riley and the people that was participants here, Riley and Arwin. We had a big group. It was really fun. Then it started changing around, but hey, whatever, man. Fresh start, as I say. I've just got a place to go in and have fun and have opposite views, so we can have a laugh, with each other. It's all good.
Sure, they get executed here and then resurrect themselves on your show.
Hey, can I make an appeal?
Hey, Nathan, last point. Did you see the little clip that I uploaded from you? You uploaded the Jose, me versus you, and it was a little clip. And I grabbed that, downloaded it, and I edited, whittled it down, everything that made sense. And I put a lot of key phrases and you saying things that doesn't make sense. I just edited in a fun way. Everybody was having a laugh. I did that with Arwin and a few people. I just got skills to edit videos out and take the explanations and things that make sense,
people.
and just put a bunch of ramble words together. It's funny, man. It's funny.
So what Jose's saying is he's realised that he's got to put quality content out, and it takes a fair bit of effort to actually chop the stuff up, regardless of Neil saying you're misrepresenting what he said. Well, no, he's putting his spin on what he wants it to say, which is what editing is. That's what it is. Yeah. So yeah, I appreciate it. I put a comment on it. I was like, you'll get to 1,000 eventually or something. I'm sure I commented on that video. I recognise the effort you're putting in, Jose. I realise what you're doing. I know what an effort it is.
Take your YouTube hat off.
Say again. John's trying to get a word in. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, just to make an appeal as a human being, if the person that did that to Jose is listening right now, just send me the password to his Gmail and I'll give it back to him. What you've done is wrong, and if you don't have to be a bad person. You can send me his information and I'll give it back to him. What you done was wrong.
They're not even hearing you, bro.
On some level, they might.
If anybody got
access
to my account, download my family pictures and video pictures of my dogs, my parents, my uncles, and my aunts that already passed away, and there's a lot of good memories. If anybody got access to my family information, to my family pictures, please make it or get to me somehow. That's all I ask.
Right, stop. No. What you're dealing with when you're dealing with people who do this, that take accounts from people on YouTube, you're dealing with the most unscrupulous people alive. Now, if they sense some weakness or some attachment to your images, do you think they will? Let's have a little quiz. Dun, 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 dun. Will they, A...
You're dealing with scum.
A, be really kind and give it you back with a little bunch of flowers? That's option A, bunch of flowers and all that you want given back to you, no questions asked. Or B, try and extort money from you for the thing that you hold with value. Which do you think it'll be, Jose?
There's a C, Nathan.
What's the C? Hold on, there's a worse one. I can sense it coming.
Yeah, the C is what really happened.
That's why I made the appeal.
I'm sorry. I'm speaking now. Sorry now. C, right? Completely ignore the whole lot because they're doing it all day, every day. It means nothing to them what personal stuff is on anyone's Gmail account.
Yeah, I'd go with C. In reality, I'd go with C. But worst case scenario, B. So most likely couldn't give a crap. They've done it because they couldn't care less about your Gmail, or they wouldn't have done it in the first place, and they'll ignore any appeals to them. But if worst case scenario, they see an opening and an opportunity, they'll extort you more. The reason I know this is from watching scam shows where they show what these scammers do. And the most valuable list to the scammers are the people that have already been scammed, because they know they're susceptible to getting scammed.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. What I wanted to say was that happened to me. I had to buy my own cell phone back because it had pictures on it. So yeah, that happens.
Damn, they
Yeah,
got you
but
good.
if anyone contacts
Who
you,
laughed?
always
Who is
telling
that?
you,
Bastard. Who was that?
I'm sorry, that
laughed?
was me, Jose, because you had to buy your own phone to get your
See, some people
pictures
never
back. That's
change.
fucked up.
so if anyone contacts you, Jose, telling you that they have your personal pictures and stuff and they're willing to sell it back to you, you can be sure they do not have that. They're looking to get money out of you. They don't have those things. The people who do these things wouldn't even waste their time with that. No offense to your personal stuff, but to them, that's just another day at the office.
Not only,
Right. Yeah, I
not
didn't
only
delete it.
that,
They deleted the whole account.
Agreed. Deal with
the
it. Move
guy
on.
asked me for an extra 20. I gave him $200 to the phone, and he said, "Yo, you gotta at least give me $20 for the gas to come and meet you here." And I really should have showed up with a cop. That's what I should have done. Had
Lovely.
the cop hiding in the bushes. Because he was the one that stole it. I know it. And a month later, because he couldn't sell it, because how you going to sell an iPhone? You can't. It's locked down.
I guess
So he
I
had to
guess he
sell
was
it back
bigger
to the
than
guy
you,
who stole it
or
from
he had
him.
a gun or something, right? He was bigger than you, bro. I'll take that shit back to me.
Okay,
I
just
beat
to-
his ass before
No, I
leave.
was sleeping in the car.
Just to link this
He
back,
took it right out.
once somebody knows that you can be scammed and you are susceptible to being lied to, even if you figure out the lie, they will just carry on that exact same pattern. We're talking about the people who run the world and they have zero empathy. By comparison, like the scammers, they don't care. They will literally wipe out your grandma's entire life savings without a second thought. You think they care about photos? I think not. Either way, that's what people with no empathy are like. That's what having no empathy means. They can't put themselves in your position, devastated at the loss of your photos. They can't relate to that. That's what having no empathy is. And that's who runs the world. And they're no different. They just lie to your face.
The reason
Go, John, go.
The reason I made the appeal is so that Jose wouldn't have to open himself up to that. And, you know, there's still people. And if there is the off chance that there's a decent bone in their body, I think that, you know, just to give it back, it should be an option for them and for him. And that's the only reason I said it. Because it's Christmas.
Fair enough, I understand.
Oh, yeah, they care about that. I'm sure they do.
These people are originally bankrolled by large criminal gangs, the likes of the Yakuza, the Russians, blah, blah, blah. And these particular gangs would actually, when they used to do stuff in the 3D world, let's just say, would give you back what you're looking for if you were looking for it. There's a chance you may here and there get that kind of stuff, personal stuff back. But when you're dealing with these other people who are bankrolled by these criminal gangs, they don't question these people what they do. All these people have to do is be online, steal stuff, rob things. That's all they need to do. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're nerds who don't have any care or empathy for anyone or anything, right? They do what they do. They're professionals at what they do. They don't care what you lose. It means nothing to them. They're doing their job, and that's all that matters.
So, happy Christmas on that note. I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, however, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
This, or they're doing what they're doing because they're under duress, whatever. They don't care.
There's another possibility that they're like a misguided ideologue, too. You know, in which case they'll have a conscience, and that's what I'm hoping for.
Maybe they're AI, for all we know. You know what I mean? Who knows? AI don't have conscience. Could be that simple, you know.
Right, I don't know. I'm not claiming to know. I'm just saying it was worth the appeal because there's a possibility that there is a slight sliver of a decent bone in their body, and that's why I did it. But if Jose did it, it would show his weakness, and it'd play into their, you know, messed up mindset that brought them there to begin with.
Yeah.
It's all good, little by little, man. Nathan, I got one question for you. A few days ago, you had like over 1,000 likes. It could be a glitch, but I don't know. My theory that you had over 1,000 likes in a live video. By the end of the video, was 2,500 likes, something like that. Maybe some asshole bought a package of likes for you, so they can steer shit and try to get you into trouble. Because I mean, it happens. I wish I could afford to throw people me giving money and buying shit for others. I can't, but I don't know. It's a possibility.
I don't understand how that would be trolling me. So, explain it to me. You say, I hate that Nathan Oakley guy. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go out and buy that guy 1,000 likes. Explain how that works, because that makes no sense to me if that's what you're suggesting that glitch is. QE had the same thing, by the way.
Then the channels that keep an eye on you and trying to find things on you, to do hit pieces on you, they I don't know, the Mr. Sensibles, the Bobs and all the people, right? Then they will say like, oh shit, look at this. But Nathan Oakley, he cannot get a big audience. He cannot get people to like his videos, so he buys these packages so he can so he can stay on YouTube. I don't know. They're gonna imply that you are the one buying the likes, so they're gonna try to mod, to damage your name in order to do that. That's kind of my take.
It's been about 3 years since I last looked into this particular subject. So in terms of people botting and all this kind of stuff, it's probably moved on since I last researched it. However, when I did last research it, because similar things were happening in terms of my statistics, which I keep a very close eye on, the explanation that I could find after a little bit of trawling was that if you're out spamming or you're one of those companies that provides views and likes to YouTube videos, so that you're not caught as a company, you'll go out to random videos that are loosely associated to the person that you're trying to spam bot, view bot, like bot, whatever you're doing to them, and also like and view other videos that are around the subject, because it doesn't then trigger the algorithm to spot that they're view botting, basically. If you only go to the one video that has been, suggested or somebody's paid for, I don't know, I've never done this, but from what I remember seeing, you could go to a company, there's whole hordes of them about 3 years ago that used to email me incessantly, trying to get me to give them money, which I obviously never did. But they'd all have the same sort of MO, which is to say that they'll not just spam bot and like bot your video, they'll also do ones on the periphery so they don't get spotted as spam botters. That was how I understood it 3 years ago. As I say, things have probably moved on considerably in terms of what people do to fake their success, which sickens me, because I am not in the slightest bit interested in fake statistics. I want to know what my statistics actually mean. And things like that, random videos that have got more views than they should for no reason, or random likes that are double the number of views, I just have to write them off as glitches, because I can't do anything else. I've got no actual explanation for them other than the research I did a few years back. And all it does for me is irritate me because it throws out my statistics.
True. Only one time something like that happened to me in my old channel. There was, I don't know, 80, 90 people watching, just average, big audience for me, 100 people, let's round it up. I had, 2,000 subscribers, and all of a sudden they say, Jose, you got 400 people watching, and I look, and the number was going up, 410, 20. It got up to like 485 people watching at one point. And they were there for like maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and then they started scrolling down, and then went down again to the 80 people. So all of the sudden, I got a big blast, 400, almost 500 people watching the show. I say, I don't know what the fuck all this coming from, like out of nowhere. It was just a boring, just regular hangout. Uh, m- uh, I'm still questioning myself. Did my video for some reason get caught by YouTube? They promoted it in another big channel. I don't know. Did somebody spend, I don't know, $5 or $10 to send me a bunch of viewers to my channel? Who the fuck knows? I'll never know that.
Who knows?
Can I throw a suggestion out there? You see this for this brief moment where you might have 1,000 likes or 200 more people watching the show. Would that, during that glitch, would that also have a monetary glitch value also, where from a monetary point of view, that the channel would be making more money for that moment or within that time space? And you won't get that money as the content creator because it's a glitch. But is that possible?
Well, yes and no. I think the amount that it would cost you to do that would massively outweigh any commercial benefit from people who would have to watch a certain chunk of the advert that was presented to them at the beginning of the live stream if they were presented with it. So potentially, yes, you might get a few extra cents because the few extra people that tuned in as viewbotters, if they watched the advert, might generate you some revenue. But the few cents that it would give you would be so massively counteracted by the fee that would presumably be incurred by asking somebody to do this or paying for somebody to do this. So to me,
No, that's not.
Yeah,
seems like
it will not be worth
stupid.
it.
No, that's
Yeah,
not
it
what
wouldn't
I'm
be worth
asking.
it from a financial
No,
point of view.
Well, what I'm asking is, during that glitch moment, is there more money, let's just say, heading in the direction of the channel for that moment than like, you're not going to get any of it because it's a glitch money. But if there's any money that can be there as a glitch within, like let's say an extra 200 viewers, then that's 200 times that advert was watched or whatever. So if there's any money that can be, let's just say for that time attributed to that glitch, you're not going to get it. So we see similar things happening with cryptocurrency, where suddenly someone's portfolio can say that they have 3 trillion or 2 billion or whatever nonsense. Now, it's not true, right? But the
It's
thing
called
about
a
it is,
dust attack.
yeah, well, the thing about it is that I would view that as a way of money laundering, digital money laundering somehow. That could be happening to your channel, but also 1,000 other channels at the same time.
I don't think so, because
You
the
know.
only beneficiary in that instance would be YouTube, who are incredibly fastidious when it comes to justifying the advertising charges. So for YouTube, they've got to show somebody who's giving them money, paying them for advertising, their statistics, which is why I trust mine, to be honest, because of this, because there's money being exchanged. So if you're paying YouTube and you want to see how your ad has been taken up, or the acceptance rate, or the view rate, or the lapse time that's been watched, all of those sorts of statistics are available to you as an advertiser through YouTube, so they can justify why they're charging you. Now, by contrast, if you're a viewer, the ad revenue is specific to an account that's logged in and offered viewer-specific advertisements. So for me, when I tune into whoever's show and watch Arwin, and it presents me with an LG advert, so Gold Star Fridge will be advertised to me because they know that's the kind of thing I'll be buying as a person who owns a home, right? So they advertise the stuff that's relevant to me, and if I watch the advert, it'll log at YouTube end as somebody having interacted with the advert long enough to justify charging the advertiser for that watch of the advert. Let's say it's 1/4 cent, right? But they'll have that all logged. Now, if it's just somebody view-botting, and from my understanding about view-botting, when someone showed me them attempting to do it and managing to raise the view count on some live stream, this is, again, going back about 3 or maybe even longer years ago, they were showing me how it was capable of being done in a very, very vague way, and showing a non-existent stream where no one was watching, going up to 3, 4, 5 viewers that were basically their bots that they were controlling from their server. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not computer programmer, so I couldn't explain to you how this was being done, but it was shown to me, in spite of my ignorance of not understanding how it actually functioned. So I know it's possible. But at that point, none of those bots, as I understand them to be, would have a viewer-specific YouTube ad revenue generatable, trackable by way of statistics account to offer a viewer-specific advert to that individual. Now, like I say, it might be the case that they've got around that, but given that if you're paying somebody for this service, the amount that that would generate if they got around that would be so massively outweighed by the amount you were paying, it wouldn't be worth them doing it. So I could only infer from that nobody's doing this for the reasons of generating revenue. They're only doing it to massage their own ego and make themselves feel more popular than they actually are. That's the only reason I can fathom to do this. Because there's absolutely no way it would have a financial incentive to do it. Just, somebody would want to feel more popular than they really are. And that's the only reason I can see to do it. But there we go. Maybe someone can wangle in some fraudulent way of wangling money out of YouTube. But given how tightly pegged down they've got the revenue stream and charging people for it, I would imagine they wouldn't want anything like that to ever be even capable of occurring. So based on that, I'm going to say, I don't think it's going to be fraudulent.
Isn't it also possible that someone shared the show on a massive platform, and so that show specifically got, a higher number in views and likes?
No, because it didn't have a higher number of views. So the view count was about normal, 450 people maybe.
Yeah, that was the tricky one, yeah.
So there was no higher view count to justify the suddenly having 3,000 likes. It didn't make any sense. Now, while we're speculating in the wild realms of view bots and people paying for views, and in this case, an adversary paying for me to have likes, which makes no sense. Either way, we don't know why it's occurred. To me, it's just a glitch. Because what's a glitch? Well, something that's not normal happening where it shouldn't. Well, is there normally 3,000 likes on a video that's got 150 people watching? No. So it's a glitch. Who cares? That's it.
Who owns YouTube, Nathan?
Google.
Who owns Google?
Now the last point. Now you can have 1,000 people commenting on your chat box, and you will still keep the 150 people watching. If you got 100 people watching, and then you see all these names popping in the chat box, trolling, because I remember back in the day, Red Rhetorics and other people used to troll you like that. Or on other channel, they say, here, I'm going to copy this link, click on this link, and this is the chat box for X or Y channels, because you can pop up in the chat box and that will give you a specific web address, and that will not count you as a view. So I can pop up in a chat box and I can share it somewhere, and people can chat in the chat box. They don't necessarily have to click on your show to watch the chat
I did not know that.
Can be done.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
I didn't know that the chat box had a separate web address, because I pop it out.
Yep.
But it never occurred to me that means that you can, if you've
Really?
got that.
Wow.
No, I just never
The
thought
more
about
we
it.
know.
So you can have the chat box without the show. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yep, indeed.
Okay. Yeah, but still, you wouldn't have a like button to press.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no like linked to that, separated web address. Yeah.
Right, you'd have to have the show up to offer a like, which would affect the view count. So therefore, if there's a disproportionate number of likes, it can't be people tuning in and just not getting counted, because they get counted. Because they're potential people to be advertised to as far as YouTube are concerned. And all they want to do is offer them an advert.
Yeah, I used to think when they...
Throughout the show, unless throughout the show the number of viewers stays the same, but people are dropping out and new people are coming in all the time.
Now, that would be reflected in the
like-
chat log. So, the same 1 in 10 people that chat would chat. So if you've got 1,000 rather than 100 people, and they just happen to be filtering in, you're saying it goes from, 125 to 150 back to 125, like it does. That's what the numbers do on my live capture. When I'm watching the numbers, they fluctuate all over the place, like weirdly. Well, that could be, as you're saying, that's 1,000 people that have come and gone during the show's elapsed time, but it's never registered more than 150 people at once, right? That's what you're saying. Well, no, because it would still be the case that 1 in 10 of those people would still come in and make a chat comment. Therefore, the chat numbers would go up exponentially. or I would expect it to, having a good grasp of what my statistics do. I'd expect the chat blog to go up if it was the case that 1,000 people had actually come by the show. 1 in 10 of them would still chat, therefore there'd be a lot more chat activity, and there isn't. So it's just a glitch with more likes that's got, at this stage, no explanation for it. At some stage, I expect in my statistics box, which is called YouTube Studio, them to actually mention this, because quite frequently glitches happen and they're weird, and then a week, 2 weeks, 10 days, sometimes a month later, YouTube will put a little banner at the bottom of my YouTube Studio, which I check daily, and it'll say, the glitch that occurred with the likes on this date has been corrected.
I thought of something on another topic, though. Can I address it real quick? You could actually make the same video that Jose made on you, but you can make it and you don't have to edit anything, and he'll be saying a bunch of gibberish.
Yeah,
Burn. Jose is saying that all I'd need to do is take a clip of you just talking and it would sound like your clip that was edited and hacked together with me sounding bad.
I like that. I like that. Makes sense.
No editing necessary.
Neil really doesn't like you, I think, Jose.
Yeah,
What
it's
are
all
you talking
good.
about? I subscribed to him.
Neil likes me. He subscribed to me. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that doesn't mean he likes you.
I know. He jumped in the other day, a hit and run, like, yeah, Earth is still flat. And everybody started tagging in the chat, hey, Neil, come back. He never showed up. He just showed up for a hit and run. I like that.
Hit and run, Neil?
Best way to do it. Next time
You
it's
were
going
called
to
out
be
by your
curve
number one
adjacent.
fan, John Hawkins, Neil. John Hawkins was calling you out. You want to talk to him?
Oh,
he's
please.
a character.
I'm not a fan, but
like
Brian's a
being
fan of
called
Sean
out by
Hawkins.
Elmer Fudd. Right? Being called out by Elmer Fudd, Sean Hawkins. He's dumber
Right.
than you are.
Yes,
Right?
I don't know.
Right?
I'm the smartest man here.
Yeah, you're smart, all right. Good Lord. You should be picking up cans alongside of the road. Supervised. Everyone knows it except you, which is hilarious. Sean Hawkins. Doesn't even know what a gas is. Right? Oh, and by the way, your argument from ignorance fallacy the other day, I don't know anything about the sextant. That's not an argument. You better get up to speed. Quick. So show a curved adjacent. Or go back under the rock you crawled out from.
Can I show a
That's
curve?
my next hit and run.
Can I show a curve at Pedro instead of at Jason?
Curved adjacent.
That's racist.
Right, I am. It's a
Vámonos, muchachos. Yeah, that's what I thought. No more pleasantries? Clown.
I know how much you love me, Kiwi.
It's not about liking, it's not about love, it's about supporting your fairy tale religion. That's it. You either do it or you don't. You make a horse's ass out of yourself every time you open up that incoherent pie hole of yours. Not about liking. Not about agree or disagree.
It makes sense because horse is almost like hose.
Yeah, here we go. With the Elmer Fudd sophistry now. That'll get you by. Right? Fucking clowns.
It's been getting him by the whole show.
I like clowns, Sean. I wanted to be a clown when I was young.
That's why we're here, so we can entertain what you like. Fuck's sake. What's your favorite color?
Green. Green.
What about your other bald-tard boyfriends in here? They show a curved adjacent yet? If they haven't, then why are they here?
Who's here?
To talk about refraction or something?
Who's
They don't
here?
even know anything about, like you.
Who are his bald-haired brethren?
Refraction. Don't even know what it is.
I would like to know if there are any so-called bald-haired brethren. If there has actually been any movement on this discussion point. Forced horizontal. yeah. That's what we've got so far. I mean, is there any advance on, you'll force yourself to accept it's flat first? Is there actually a, semi-coherent rebuttal? Or not semi-coherent, totally incoherent, and hopefully descends it into nonsense like the rest of the rebuttals? Anybody at all? There must be something at this stage. It's been several months.
Wait a second. Jose said the black swan was refracted.
No,
Let him give an answer.
No. No, you're out of your element. The black swan had a rebuttal within 3 or 4 days. This hasn't had a rebuttal. Telling us you force horizontal is just not a rebuttal, it's a concession.
I just want to hear him get abused. I'm sorry, berated.
Okay, I'll throw it out to the flat earthers then. Has anybody heard anything that's come close to being a refutation to this argument? That would be to say, how can you have a curved adjacent?
Yeah, I have. It was a complete.
No, I haven't.
Go on, Brian.
Yeah, I have. It's a video made by a guy who was kind of trolls me a bit. And what he did was he used a zenith, let's say his zenith, right? And then he took an angle off of that zenith to a star. Then he moved his zenith closer to that star and he took another angle, right, off of that zenith. But that's not how it's done. Your angle happens along the surface of the Earth. Whereas he was doing it the opposite way around. So it's an avoidance, complete avoidance of the surface was what it was.
Of course.
Oh, okay. So kind of a bit like Blue Marble asking you how you do it without the ground.
Well, this lad did it without the ground. Like, I mean, he didn't do it because his angles are all over the place. But it was completely wrong. But the point is that he tried to completely avoid the surface of the Earth. So all he needed was a zenith, which you could have on a globe. But he tried to avoid the surface of the Earth by just bringing an angle up off of his zenith to the star.
Okay. And when you do this, that would be triangulation. What's the purpose of doing this again? Why would they be doing this process, Neil? Brian, rather?
Well, the reason they do it when they do it correctly, not like he did, is to gain a minutes of degree distance along the sky, which is then translated down onto the surface of the Earth as another horizontal distance in nautical miles.
What I mean by that is the purpose is to find your location on the surface, right?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, it is. I mean, the actual purpose is to triangulate your position.
On the surface? On the ground?
On the surface of Earth. Yeah,
right.
Surface of Earth.
So, yeah, you use sky angle measurements in order to do that, but the whole purpose is to translate that information onto the ground so you can find your position on the ground. So their avoidance of the ground, which won't work with triangulation because they've got a curved adjacent, won't fly because the whole purpose is to get these measurements on the ground. That's the horizontal plane that you'll need to measure the angle with. Yeah, it's great. So no rebuttals then, really. Just an avoidance of the curved adjacent.
Yeah.
But technically, they've always tried to avoid the ground that we dwell upon anyway.
That's correct.
Well, that's like the same thing that Bob did in his video where he used the other sextant that didn't have a horizon mirror. It was just the bubble level, and they just completely avoid the ground in itself, and they just get the zenith.
Yeah, but by doing that, by using a bubble sextant, he's still going to apply triangulation to it. He just doesn't have any justification for the sphere Earth argument that there's going to be a dip correction to the horizon that's falling away. Well, as soon as he pulled out that bubble, that's what we've fondly now labelled as the sextant trap.
Yeah, because the radii that he's creating with that bubble sextant or with an artificial horizon are just straight lines. Because radius lines have to be straight, but just straight lines that are parallel, making a parallel to the surface of the Earth. They have to make a parallel to the surface. So they're straight lines paralleling another horizontal.
Yeah, and then you're just circling around that you need a 90. You can't have a 90 on a curved adjacent.
Precisely. I'm glad we've all got to grips with this argument so quickly.
Except the ballers.
No, they have. They just ain't admitting it.
No, they understand it too. They're all drawing flat, level baselines on top of circles.
Correct.
Well, there's a burden of proof reversal that's going on, as we spoke about the other day, where they're asking us, how do you get an angle with a sextant off a flat Earth?
Yeah, Brian. How do you do that, Brian?
Yeah, that's what they're asking, though. It's like, how do you do this with a flat Earth? Kind of the whole psychological side of that is to make it seem like it would be ridiculous to not use a globe to form elevation angles on.
Go on, Neil.
So after you
one
do
more
it with
time.
two straight.
One more time with your blue marble science impression. That was epic. Thank you so much.
After you use two
awesome.
straight lines, they're saying what? After you use two straight lines to get an angle, then they say, how could you do that with the Earth being a straight line? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, like they say it in a joking fashion too. It's like a kind of a smug fashion. It's like, how would you do any of this with a flat Earth? Like, how would you have a flat baseline with a flat Earth?
Brian, you can't change history because you're a flat earther, Brian.
Yeah, in essence, the fact that they can't do it with the ground because they have a curved adjacent has led them to the misapprehension that the best course of action is to ask us how we'll do this measurement without the ground.
That's correct.
No, it's worse than that. It's ask us, how are we going to have a flat baseline on a horizontal Earth? That's basically what they've come back with. Besides the other video I talked about, like their other rebuttal is how and they ask it arrogantly, how do you use a sextant and get elevation angles off a flat plane? Like, we're waiting kind of stuff with question marks. That's what they'll ask you.
Right, and you can measure angles with respect to curved lines, but here's the aspect: the elevation angle, you need that 90. The elevation angle needs to be straight, which is what we have.
How do you measure an angle with a curved line? Can't. All angles require non-curves.
Exactly. That's why they're angles. They're straight lines.
But they can't. They can't. It's like all angles require straight lines. All angles require 90 degrees.
It only has to be optically straight. Never mind.
Nah, there's no recovery. There is no recovery from this.
That's kind of what I was asking. I was reading out to say, what have they got? Have they really got absolutely nothing at this stage? Because that's how it seems. Other than to tell us they've got to force a horizontal. Yeah. Force yourself to accept that flat Earth to get that angle, to then beg the question of a sphere. Yeah. That's what we've got so far. It's unbelievable. It's been over a month. It's been a couple of months now.
I'm being ignored again. I got the rebuttal right away. But nobody takes me serious. But you take the baller serious that literally contradict themselves in the same sentence, though.
No, you've been rebutted with the optical.
No, I haven't. I mean, yeah, Black Swan, yeah, we know. You don't have R
There
and
it
all
is.
that. Yeah, yada,
There
yada,
it is.
yada.
There it is.
Yeah, but that doesn't directly address the argument, right? The argument still stands. It only has to, it's an optical instrument. It only requires optical flatness. Oh, guess what? Ballers are very lucky because terrestrial refraction gives them just that, an apparent optically flat plane. So it's perfect. It works out just fine. I know that makes little sense to somebody that realizes that doesn't work, but it can very much make more sense on average than the arguments that they tend to come up with these days. So, but it's still being ignored, right? I don't know why. They rather just be completely
that's just-
delusional than have a seemingly
word
cohesive
judo.
argument.
But that's
Can't
just
be like-
word judo.
Yeah, that's what you do.
I mean, when you say it appears flat, like that's just word judo.
Well, doesn't it?
What are you implying that it's not, even though it does?
No, I'm just asking you, doesn't it appear flat?
Well, things that are flat do appear flat. Yeah.
Well, close by, definitely.
No,
Don't entertain Baldwin.
doesn't appear flat in that regard. So if I stand at the beach and look out at the horizon, the ground appears to rise up towards the horizon.
Right, as if it were flat.
As if it were flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's rising. It appears to rise up then. Uphill, if you want.
Exactly.
Sorry, Baldwin. I think you've forgotten your 7/6R claim.
No, I haven't. I'm just not addressing it.
Yeah.
No, I
You're
haven't.
trying to say it appears flat, but it's actually curved. No, it appears flat in your model due to your claiming of 7/6R, which would require an R measurement that you don't have.
Right, but you can't get it because it is refracted. You can't expect somebody with a refraction claim to prove R because there's no visual way to prove it because of it.
So you're saying that it's unfair for anyone to ask you for the R measurement that you're claiming.
Seems reasonable.
Well, yeah. Well, it's just like, deliver me tangible proof that this thing is intangible. Yeah, you can't do that because it's intangible. How can I tangibly prove it's intangible? I can't because it's intangible. So that's unfair.
But that's
it's an
wrong.
unfair demand.
Globearth's not. No. Globearth's not intangible. Their claim comes with a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon that's claimed to block boats and buildings and stuff, Arwin. So their tangibility is very much laid down in their maths, as opposed to asking you to. Go on.
It was a metaphor, not literal, just to lay out the comparison of how unfair it is. It's not literally intangible. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but it is. It's intangible because we've debunked it with the Black Swan. We're back to the beginning.
Yeah, but refraction.
Yeah. So Earth curve needs to be physical and tangible, and the Black Swan is met with the rebuttal that it's not physical or tangible. So, in other words, the rebuttal from you in this instance as Baldwin is the concession also. It's a bit like saying forced horizontal. What, we'll force ourselves to accept how flat it is so we can measure an angle?
Well, my end-all argument is just because we can't prove R because refraction makes that impossible doesn't make R debunked. It's just impossible to prove.
So,
if you can't measure it, it's not
hold
real.
on. So by comparison, just because I can't prove there isn't a wardrobe with access to Narnia doesn't mean Narnia isn't real by the same standard.
Well, yeah, you could think of it like that, yeah.
No, it's totally unreasonable standard. You can't prove non-existence. I can't prove the non-existence of unicorns. That's a logical impossibility.
Well, dark matter seems to be considered as proven.
It's just a story.
So,
well, the same principle applies.
yeah.
You
but
can't
it's
challenge.
considered proven.
So what you're saying now is by way of burden of proof
it's
reversal.
not measurable.
So you're saying by way of burden of proof of reversal, it would be fair for me to be challenged to disprove the existence of dark matter, i.e., prove non-existence of dark matter. No, that's the same logical fallacy.
Yes.
Well, it's
Works
a fallacious.
perfectly.
No, it's a fallacious position to take. Disprove unicorns, Arwen. Go.
They're in the Bible, so they can't be real?
No, disprove. Prove they don't exist.
I don't understand.
Prove they aren't real. Unicorns, that is. Go.
How do I do that?
You can't. You can't prove non-existence.
Then why did you ask me to?
Because you're doing the same with me. It's... Oh, God.
That's
what
a
do you
burden
want?
of proof reversal.
Hey, this is just a... That's how you simulate it, you know?
No. The argument... I can still keep track of the argument with your nonsense convolution of it. There's a physical tangibility that is being denied in rebuttal. The physical tangibility is Earth curve. It's claimed to physically and tangibly block things because it's a physical obstruction, a hill, called Earth curve in the way of stuff in the distance, by way of its claim in geometry. That's a physical, geometric, sphere edge horizon. We show it isn't, and the rebuttal, as Arwen's demonstrating, is to A, descend it into absurdum, so that's where we are, we're at the point of being totally absurd, but also claim it's refracted. Therefore, not physical, tangible, geometric blocking stuff. So, like when I said earlier that it's comparable to saying, well, we'll force a horizontal, this is saying, well, we'll just refute our own claim in the first instance. A refracted Earth curve is not an Earth curve that's provable as being capable of blocking stuff. So you're saying, so Earth curve isn't physical, tangible, stomach blocking stuff, it's refracted. Well, welcome to flat Earth then. If it's refracted, that's bye-bye Earth curve.
No. Look, the geometric horizon is still blocking things. It's just, it doesn't seem like it because of refraction.
So it isn't. Yeah, so that's doublespeak in the same breath. So it seems like it's blocking stuff. It is physically blocking stuff. It's the same as Jose on the last show. So it is physically an obstruction. But in this image now of the black swan, labelled imagery-wise, it's not physically blocking anything. The blockage is actually behind the thing it should be obscuring. But no big deal. I can cherry pick out a different day where it might seem to be blocking it, even if it's not at the right ratios. So job's a good one, right? No. It must be a physical, tangible obstruction. If it isn't, it isn't. You've only got to show that it isn't once.
Yeah, but what Baldwin is saying, is that you can think of the geometric horizon as blocking things, even though it isn't.
Yeah, that's right.
Just because
live and let live.
Just because it appears not to block things doesn't mean it isn't actually blocking things.
Yeah. I can think of it as having to prove non-existence at this stage to make you feel better. And you can, like I say, live and let live. If you want to believe that the non-physical refracted horizon is actually the horizon labelled as Earth curve in Earth curve maths, then you can if you want to. You can also think of gravity as a force if you want to. There's a lot of things you can do just because you want to do them. It doesn't make them real. It doesn't mean it's justifiable to challenge your opponent to prove the non-existence of the thing you hold as true.
Is the radius value to the equator?
Come again?
Is the radius value to the equator?
It has a relationship to that, because that's circumference in their model.
Right.
But how
No,
come
the
we only
radius
have
is
one
from
radius
the
value?
radius is from any point at the equator to the center of Earth, where it's all molten and irony.
Presupposed spherical Earth. What was your point, though? You're just asking a geometric question in regards to radius.
No, because we only have that one value. How come we don't have multiple values to multiple longitude or latitudes throughout the sphere then?
Are you referring to the geoid, where, according to them, it would have varying different radii because there's slightly differing distances to the centre? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, because they call it an oblate spheroid. You know, it's not perfectly round, so it can't have a perfectly radius value. It can't have a perfect radius value.
No, but you can calculate an average based on what they give it as an axis and a radius to the edge at the point that it spins. And that is where they've back-engineered this from, i.e. the relationship to the heavens. So when you calculate that back down onto the ground and make the ground spherical, you have a fixed value that will work with. Now they can say, oh, it's not exact, it varies, oblate spheroid and all. Yeah, but in terms of their maths for the relationship to the heavens, it's back-engineered from that. So it must have a fixed value.
Who asked that question, please?
Chaos. No, I just wanted to know because
yeah, I know. Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
I was
got
reverse engineering it in my head.
Yeah, 43 minutes after the hour. Are you in main chat?
Yeah.
Go ahead and read that off their alma mater wiki.
But because of fixing.
Hold on, John. Go ahead and read it
out loud to you, or
yes, out loud.
All right. Do you want me to click on the wiki link, or you want me to
go ahead and read
what
it.
you posted?
I'll just read it. From their alma mater wiki, the International Union of Fantasy, Geodesy, and Geophysics, the IUGFG, provides 3 reference values. The mean radius, R1, of the 3 radii measured at 2 equator points and a pole. The ortholic radius, which is the radius of a sphere with the same surface area, R2, and the volumetric radius, which is the radius of a sphere having the same volume as the ellipsoid, R3. All 3 values are about 6,371 kilometers or 3,959 miles. End of citation. Good.
Thanks for that, Q.
You're welcome.
With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
what a day! What a lovely day!